Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
It will be another warm day today, and temperatures will continue to heat up in the days ahead. And we're watching this system that could become tropical in nature. I'll show you the latest model trends coming up.
And those hot temperatures are going to affect fans and players at the U.S. Open. How organizers plan to keep everyone safe.
And this is a live look at the state legislative building this morning, where today there will be calls for high schoolers to pass a citizenship test. The rally where Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson will be speaking today. It is 4:30. We're glad you're waking up with us here on this Wednesday morning as we approach the heat wave. I'm Renee Chu.
I'm Chris Levingood in for Jeff Hogan. Yeah, this is one of those days we're going to definitely have to have some water as you're out and about. Amy Wilmoth is getting a track at just how hot things are going to get.
Temperatures will stay in the upper 80s today for most of us, but some will climb into the low 90s down in our southern counties. And we are off to a mild start. Still feels pretty good in Roxborough, 55 there, 68 in Raleigh and Durham. It's 65 in Fayetteville, 63 right now in Goldsboro. Hour by hour today, a lot of kids, it's the last day of school. It's going to be pretty nice weather. It'll be warmer, a little bit more muggy. We'll be in the 60s through 8 a.m. and then we'll jump into the 70s for a few hours. Our high gets up to 88, which is pretty close to normal. And then tomorrow, high temperatures are going to climb into the 90s, and we could have record heat by the time we get to Friday. And I'll have more on that coming up in a little bit. We are tracking the tropics. We have a system that has about a 20% chance of development over the next 5 days. The latest model trends keep it off the North Carolina coast. Coming up, I'm going to talk about how this system is staying away from the coast, but the impacts that we could still see along the North Carolina coast over the weekend.
Amy, thanks. Today is the final day for golfers to practice ahead of the U.S. Open. This is a live look at Pinehurst, and it is going to be hot out there today, like Amy said. The heat will stick around throughout the tournament, but organizers say they're prepared. There will be hydration stations, several first aid stations, and ambulances on standby in the event of an emergency. WRAL is your home for the U.S. Open as it returns to the Sandhills. Our team will have complete coverage on your phone, tablet, and TV. Once the first round tees off tomorrow, Jeff Hogan and Gerald Owens will lead our coverage live from Pinehurst. And be sure to tune in to WRAL for all the action from the first tee to the 18th green. WRAL is your home all weekend long, beginning on Friday with second round action through the finals.
Parents, an effort is happening today to require your high school student to pass a citizenship test before graduating. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is at the Legislative Building in Raleigh live. Kelsey, lawmakers are taking on this effort.
Chris, they are. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is supporting that push, and this morning he'll be here at the Legislative Building to talk about how this potential requirement could impact your student. The group Moms for Liberty is supporting this change. They're requesting for all public high school students to pass a citizenship test before graduation. Moms for Liberty is a conservative group that has invested thousands into North Carolina campaigns. Today's rally comes as the race for the state superintendent of public instruction heats up. That race is gaining national attention after far-right candidate Michelle Murrow won the GOP primary. And this morning's news conference is scheduled for 9:30. We'll be sure to have a crew there and keep you updated. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
A pregnant woman is in critical condition after she was shot in Durham. Our breaking news tracker drove to Tobler Court just after 4 yesterday afternoon. Police are calling this a domestic incident. A man was also shot at the same location. He was taken to Duke University Hospital with life-threatening injuries.
Faith leaders want state lawmakers to do more to fund childcare across North Carolina. The North Carolina Poor People's Campaign is leading a rally this morning outside the General Assembly. It'll start at Freedom Park at 11 this morning. The group is calling for a meeting with House Speaker Tim Moore and Senate Leader Phil Berger. Hundreds of daycare centers in the state could be forced to close when COVID-era funding runs out June 30th. Today, the man accused of killing Moore County woman Alicia Watts is due back in court. James Dunmore is in jail on $1 million bond as he awaits trial. Dunmore is accused of killing his girlfriend Alicia Watts last year. Family and friends of Watts plan to gather for a vigil outside the courthouse.
No sentencing date yet for Hunter Biden after a jury found him guilty in his federal gun trial. The president's son could face up to 25 years in prison and a fine of up to $750,000. He's likely to receive far less than the maximum sentence as a first-time offender. Hunter was convicted on all 3 counts tied to the possession of a gun while using narcotics. President Biden was seen sharing this moment with his son yesterday after the conviction, hugging him. The president said in a statement he will accept the verdict, but added that he will always be there for Hunter, saying nothing will ever change that.
A bill that would make it illegal to wear a mask in public unless it's for health reasons is now headed to Governor Roy Cooper's desk. House lawmakers passed the bill yesterday. Cooper is expected to veto it, but Republicans hold a slim veto-proof majority. State lawmakers came to a compromise on the legislation last week. Wearing a medical or surgical mask to prevent the spread of an illness, that's okay, but masking for a protest, it's not.
If they're not breaking the law, it's not concerning me. If people want to wear a mask, you can wear a mask. That's up to me. But the onus of the bill is if you are breaking a law, if you are criminally active.
Lawmakers also layered in some campaign finance rules in the bill. This would make it harder to follow a money trail. You can learn more on this story on WRAL.com.
Raleigh police need your help finding whoever smashed car windows in some North Raleigh neighborhoods. Police are looking for this white SUV. They believe the vandals drove this vehicle. WRAL talked with homeowners over the weekend, and they showed us doorbell security video showing someone throwing a rock directly at a car. Neighbors believe it's a group of teens involved. If you know anything about this or you recognize this SUV, you're asked to call Raleigh Police or Crime Stoppers. Today, we'll get two big indicators of where the economy is heading. The Consumer Price Index report will be released at 8:30 this morning. It's a measure of what we pay for goods and services. It is forecast to show just 0.1% increase from April. This afternoon, the Federal Reserve will announce its decision on interest rates. It's expected to hold them steady this month. The Fed will also share how it plans to address rates for the rest of the year.
A bill is moving forward in the state legislature to require PFAS polluters to pay for the cleanup. The House Environment passed a bill that would put the responsibility of those costs on PFAS manufacturers. More than 50 drinking water systems in North Carolina are contaminated with PFAS, also known as forever chemicals. The man-made substances have been linked to health problems, including cancer. New federal drinking water standards would require utilities to filter out the harmful chemicals.
This bill is targeted at anyone in this state that makes this stuff from scratch. Camorra happens to do that. But I will say, they knew very well what they were doing, and they didn't do any of these remediation efforts until they got caught.
Much of the water in the southeastern part of the state has been contaminated. This is because of the Chemours plant in Fayetteville, formerly owned by DuPont. The bill still has to pass through other committees and get approval from the full House.
It is 4:38, nearly 35 years after the murder of her husband. Pamela Smart is taking responsibility for her role in his death for the first time.
I found myself responsible for something I desperately didn't want to be responsible for, my husband's murder.
Smart explains in her own words why she believes she deflected blame for all these years.
And the community of Goldsboro is working to find ways to reduce violence. Some of the ideas, including ways to better reach the youth who live in the area.
And this is a live look at Durham from the American Tobacco campus. It's going to be warm today, and it's only heating up from here. Meteorologist Amy Wilmoth has a look at just how hot it's going to get by the weekend.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Amy Wilmoth. And for Elizabeth, we have the tower lit in blue for clear skies. We'll have mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies today. Tune in tonight at 10 and 11. We're going to do something special with the tower later tonight. A little teaser for you. Temperatures are pretty comfortable in the 50s and 60s this morning. It's 68 in Raleigh and Durham, 64 in Wilson, 57 in Siler City. Down to the south, 65 in Fayetteville. It's 66 in Irwin and 67 in Clinton. The dew point creeping up. We're in the humid category now, and it will be a little bit on the steamy side once we head into the next couple of days. Pretty nice for the bus ride this morning, mostly sunny with temperatures in the upper 60s, but it is getting hotter. Highs back in the 90s Thursday. I'll show you how hot it will feel coming up.
Amy, thank you. Folks, look at this video here. Police say that a man hijacked a bus and then led officers on a chase that spanned 2 counties. You can see it right there, cutting across lanes and traffic. More than a dozen people were on this bus as it swerved through rush hour traffic, and a person who was shot aboard the bus later died. Police say the chase started after a report of a fight on the bus. Officers eventually stopped that vehicle. That's when 39-year-old Joseph Greer came out with his hands up. But it's unclear how he may have gotten control of that bus. Now, hours before this, there was gunfire at a popular shopping area in downtown Atlanta. Police say that a man got into an argument with another person in the food court at a shopping mall. They say he shot that person and 2 others. An off-duty police officer pulled his gun and shot that man. At least 2 people who were shot are in critical condition.
People in Goldsboro are trying to find solutions to violence in their community. Community members packed City Hall last night for a meeting organized by city leaders. They shared their ideas for how to tackle crime in Goldsboro. The meeting comes a week after an 18-year-old was shot and killed near a Food Lion grocery store. Some of the ideas that came out of the meeting include community policing and engaging young people inside and outside the classroom.
One of my initiatives was a landscaping consortium that would basically provide jobs for young people, and it would also allow us to mentor them and shape their consciousness.
Goldsboro Mayor Charles Gaylor says the city held a similar meeting around the same time last year.
Today, the Southern Baptist Convention will vote on banning all churches with women pastors. Ahead of that vote, the convention's delegates have already voted one church from its ranks. The convention voted yesterday to expel the First Baptist Church of Alexandria, Virginia. Last year, 2 churches were ousted over their belief that women can serve in pastoral roles. Now, Southern Baptist leaders say allowing women to serve as pastors conflicts with the Baptist faith and message.
A woman convicted of plotting to kill her husband more than 30 years ago is accepting responsibility for his death for the first time. Pamela Smart released a video statement taking full responsibility for the killing. She was a 22-year-old high school media coordinator when she began an affair with a 15-year-old boy in 1990. The teen later shot and killed her husband, Gregory. She had always denied knowledge of the plot.
I had deflected blame all the time. I think almost as if it was a coping mechanism, because the truth of being so responsible was very difficult for me.
Smart, who is now 56, is serving life in prison. She says she wants to meet with New Hampshire's governor to talk about reducing her sentence.
The FBI and Durham police are investigating Duke Energy equipment being shot at and eventually catching fire. Durham police tell WRAL they got a call yesterday morning about this damage. Duke Energy told them gunshots struck the equipment within the last week. That caused a slow oil leak and then a fire on Monday. Duke Energy says about 700 people were without power for 2 hours. And you may recall a year and a half ago, well, 2 Duke Energy substations were shot up in Moore County. Thousands of people lost power, but no arrests have been made in that case.
Today, about 60 survivors of the Sandy Hook school shooting will graduate from Newtown High School in Connecticut. 20 of their fellow students and 6 educators were killed in the massacre in 2012. Many of the survivors say they still live with the trauma of that day. Loud noises are startling. Some say they will always keep an eye on the exit in a room, and many have spent years in therapy. The school plans to honor the victims during the graduation ceremony, but details have not been shared.
Amazon's contracted drivers say they want more benefits, including overtime pay. More than 15,000 contract drivers filed arbitration claims against Amazon yesterday. They deliver same-day packages for Amazon, and the company classifies them as independent contractors. They say they are minimum wage employees, and they're unable to sue Amazon because of an agreement that forbids them from taking legal action.
Elon Musk has dropped his lawsuit against the maker of ChatGPT. You may remember Musk co-founded the artificial intelligence startup in 2015 and then left 3 years later. He accused the company of reserving advanced AI technology for private customers. But OpenAI pushed back, arguing that Musk was jealous and the case should be dismissed. Musk's lawyers did not say why they decided to drop the lawsuit.
All right, big news this week, obviously the U.S. Open, but the weather, that seems to be the focus here, especially because those golfers are going to be out in some scorching heats there. Amy Wilmoth is getting you a track on the weather that we can expect this week.
Yeah, we could have some record heat by the time we get to Friday. So it is definitely going to be hot for the golf tournament. Things really start to heat up beginning tomorrow. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh. It's quiet. It's going to be a quiet day as far as the weather is concerned. Temperatures right now are mild in the 50s and 60s. It's 68 right now in Raleigh. The dew point is 60, so that's not terrible, but it's a little bit higher compared to yesterday. Yesterday at this time, we had dew points in the mid 50s. So the humidity creeping up, but it's really not that bad. We'll stay in the humid category today with dew points likely staying in the upper 50s, low 60s today. Pretty nice for the first part of the day. We'll be in the 60s through 8 a.m. and then at lunchtime we'll have mostly sunny skies with a temperature around 83. Partly cloudy later this afternoon and we'll have a high temperature around 88, which is right on track for normal. But the heat, bigger heat arrives tomorrow. 92, the forecast high. The heat index just 93. So the humidity isn't going to be high enough for it to really be a super high heat index for Thursday. The hottest day is going to be Friday. 96 is the forecast high, the heat index approaching 100. And then on Saturday, 91 the high, but we have a cold front that moves through, so the dew point will not be bad at all. So it will feel like the actual air temperature. We don't really think we'll have much of a heat index on Saturday. But flirting with some record highs by Friday. 96 the forecast high in Raleigh, the record 97 set back in 1944. 97 the forecast high for Fayetteville, the record 98. So we are really close to some records on Friday. I'm also tracking a system that's down to the south of us that could become tropical in nature, but this cold front is going to keep it offshore, and that's the good news. It's going to kind of push it away from the North Carolina coast, but we still expect perhaps some rough surf and maybe some dangerous rip currents along the North Carolina coast over the weekend. But watch how this front, it kind of keeps moving to the south and east and helps to push that low away from the North Carolina coast. Now, this system does have a higher chance for development compared to what we were looking at this time yesterday. It has about a 60 to 70% chance of development, but notice how it stays offshore, which is certainly some good news. There's also another system in the Gulf of Mexico that's likely to develop over the next several days as well. We'll keep you posted on the tropics over the next several days. Big story the next few days will be the heat, 90s Thursday through Saturday. Father's Day looks good, 89. Then we're back into the 90s for Monday and Tuesday.
Amy, thanks. Starbucks is following the lead of other chains that are reducing prices. The new deal that will save you a few bucks.
And as we near the beginning of the U.S. Open, the golf community is remembering the life of Grayson Murray. The memorial for him at Pinehurst.
It might be one of the most significant historical discoveries in North Carolina in decades. But could the land become home to new beach houses instead? There is a new political fight over a big archaeological find.
On the coast in Carteret County near Bogue Sound, a multi-million-dollar housing development is being held up by the discovery of what might be an ancient Native American village. State officials worry that further construction could bulldoze sacred burial grounds. They've halted work there.
And this is an area has shown to be an area of long-term habitation over hundreds or thousands of years with the American Indians in the eastern part of North Carolina.
That's Chris Southerly. He's the state's top archaeologist. He says this could be among the most important Native American finds ever in North Carolina. Archaeologists believe more than 2,000 artifacts, possibly from longhouses, ritual areas, and graves, point to a thriving village, possibly among the first to interact with early English settlers.
It could have been part of the Powhatan Confederation, the Indians that were met by the Jamestown settlers.
But there's a chance it won't be preserved. In Raleigh, the legislature is debating whether to rewrite state law to help homes get built on the site. Senator Michael Lazzara says regulations are too strict on builders to protect what might be historical artifacts. Lazzara says that drives up the cost of homes.
These folks are out there trying to build developments and housing, but the regulatory environment in North Carolina prohibits that.
WRAL dug through campaign finance data and found the developers behind that coastal site have given thousands of dollars to Lazzara's political campaign. The developers haven't responded to calls and emails seeking comment. Senator Lazzara says he's pushing the change to help all developers, not just his campaign donors. The Department of Cultural and Natural Resources confirmed the only development in the state being held up by these rules is the one owned by his donors.
State lawmakers are still debating whether to pass the bill into law.
This morning, a Juneteenth opening ceremony is happening in Raleigh. It's to kick off the events that are happening during the Capital City Week of Events. The ceremony happening this morning at 10 at the Regional National Cemetery. It'll recognize the 26 African-American troops who fought during the Civil War that are buried there. On Saturday, the Capital City Juneteenth celebration, that'll be held at Dix Park. And that event starts at noon.
The U.S. Open gets underway tomorrow, and the organization is paying tribute to Grayson Murray. Murray died late last month. Tuesday morning, the USGA revealed this plaque with Murray's name. It was placed in the locker room at Pinehurst. It reads, "The USGA remembers Grayson and pays tribute to the playing accomplishments that merited his place in the 124th U.S. Open Championship." It ends with the quote, "Be kind to one another."
Downtown Raleigh will have plenty of fun and games for you and your family this weekend. The Raleigh Retro Gamers Summer Expo is happening at Moore Square from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday. You're looking at video from a previous event on your screen. Food trucks, games, and live music will be available for your family to enjoy. Plus, there will be more than 80 vendors, and I will be there emceeing a cosplay contest. The event organizers will also be taking donations virtually for Duke Children's Hospital. Should be a fun time.
You'll be in your element, Chris. Starbucks is the latest chain to offer discounts for customers. The coffee company has rolled out what it calls a pairings menu. For $5, customers can get a tall iced or hot coffee or tea paired with a croissant. For $1 more, they can swap out the croissant for any breakfast sandwich. Wendy's, McDonald's, and other fast food chains have also rolled out their value deals to entice customers worried about soaring fast food prices.
The U.S. Open is a day away, and it is going to be a hot one. Coming up, what Tiger Woods has to say about the temperatures and how that will affect players and fans.
Parts of Florida could see a month's worth of rain by the end of the week. New video of flooding happening this morning.
And some striking new discoveries in Pompeii. A behind-the-scenes look at the archaeological dig happening there right now.